You're working with two Hall of Famers here. Jim Ross and Bob Koddel are on this show, which in hindsight, I guess feels like three Hall of Fame level announcers on the exact same show. And you grew up a Mid-Atlantic fan. Yeah. What was it like to work with Bob Koddel after growing up being a Bob Koddel fan?
Well, it was a big deal, Conrad. I can tell you a story that I may have told this story to you before. So if I have, keep your butt in that fucking seat and listen again. We were in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and I was standing. We had those long microphones, if you'll recall.
Yeah.
And I was standing there on set with Bob Koddel, getting ready to do something with him. And I told him, I said, you're not going to. I'm basically using the term that I hear a lot today. I marked out, big time, right there. And I told him how much of a deal it was for me to be standing next to him, and he couldn't have been any more of a gentleman than he was at that time. Remember exactly what he said, but he made me feel at ease. And if anybody who's gone to these Mid-Atlantic conventions have a chance to talk to Bob, you just know what a gentleman he was. And that's a lot of people have sent me tweets, and I really appreciate this. And a lot of the tweets say you should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. And I'm not going to say anything unkind about the Hall of Fame out of any disrespect to people who are in there, because all the announcers who are in there deserve to be in there. But damn it, Bob Koddel needs to be in there before anybody ever thinks about Tony Schiavone going to the Hall of Fame. Lord Alfred Hayes needs to be there before anybody ever thinks about Tony Schiavone going to the Hall of Fame. And there's other announcers who be there. Bob Koddel was one of the greats in the sport. If you go back and listen to some of the old Mid-Atlantic stuff that he did, it was tremendous because he put the talent over. He made these guys seem bigger than life without drawing attention to himself. It was kind of like an umpire.
Right.
The best umpires in the business are the ones that you don't realize who were there, and all of a sudden after the game you say, man, that was a great fucking game. Because the umpires call a great game, and they are not the center of attention. To me, Bob Koddel was one of the greats of all time. And that, being able to work with Bob Koddel, really is kind of like, and fans who are in Georgia can understand this. When I first got the chance to work with Larry Munson at UGA, when I first got a chance to work with Skip Carey and Pete Van Wieren and the Braves Network, big deals for me. I mean, big moments in my life, Koddel and working with those guys.
The other guy in the booth is Jim Ross. Jim Ross had been a part of this UWF purchase. He helped put that whole deal together for Crockett. So I'm curious, did he have any other duties with the organization by this point, or was he strictly on air?
He worked out of Dallas, and I worked out of Charlotte. So I don't know what his duties were during the course of the week. Jim and I would get together back then, and we would room together because he would come in from Dallas, and I would be from Charlotte, and we would go to Atlanta, and we would tape Saturday night. We would tape the main event, NWA main event wrestling, and we would be there for a couple of days and then go back home and come back like a week later and do it again. So I don't know what his jobs were back that time, but I know he was very influential in the business. Jim was very influential with Jim Crockett Promotions because Jim had a great mind for the business. And believe you me, he could talk the pants off anybody. Nobody could talk as well as Jim Ross could talk off the air and on the air. He was delightful in many ways. I envied him, the way he could talk, the way the confidence that he had about himself. So as far as the duties that he had, I'm not so sure because he was in the Dallas office.